Hello everyone, this is Scarzig and welcome back to Budget Hero. Today we're returning to our regularly scheduled programming. Of course, since we're done with that gauntlet run, we're going to hop into the collection and we are going to be working on Magmar today. We do have a Magmar quest, so I wanted to get up in here and make some key changes to the deck and really soup this thing up. Magmar in its base form is actually already very strong. It had a reputation, especially, pardon me, especially in the earlier times of Duelyst. Magmar was infamous for having probably one of the strongest base sets in the game. So we don't need to do too much to them, especially since we already have some really key neutral cards like Primus Fist and Dancing Blades that are going to give us some nice utility. So, first off, we do want to get 3 Young Silithar. It's an excellent 2-drop, one of the strongest in the game behind, maybe Windblade Adept and Azurite Lion. It is a little bit annoying for the opponent to deal with, and from the changes to Rebirth, if they don't kill the egg, then it will spawn as a 2-3 with Rush the next turn, so your opponent does need to prioritize clearing it. Let me see, what else do I have on my list? I wanted to pick up a couple Thumping Waves, because these are rare cards and they're very, very strong. We're going to cherry pick these from the Shim'Zar expansion. It serves as removal for us and as a huge buff to come through and help us clear out the game. We're also going to pick up a couple Earth Spheres. This kind of fits. This used to be run solely in Control Magmar, but Earth Sphere kind of lets us play a bit of a mid-range game. Sometimes that 8 health will really screw over your opponent's plans to hit you with lethal in the next turn, and because we're going to be going face with Voth's Bloodborne spell that gives us +1 attack and Adamantite Claws, we're going to be taking a lot of damage just cutting through the opponent's forces. Let's see, what else do we need to grab? Makantor Warbeast. I was kind of torn about picking these up, because if you are focusing on Magmar, getting 3 Makantor Warbeast should be your top priority. This is the numero uno card that you need to craft for Magmar. You're going to need to pick these up eventually just because they're so good, and especially once you get higher up on the ladder and you're doing your quest, Makantor Warbeasts are really going to get you out of some sticky situations. But I figured for the purposes of this series, we're going to be on a very, very tight budget, right? And so we aren't going to focus on getting the 3 Makantor Warbeasts. Our deck is going to be severely lower in quality because of it, but we can sort of make do by picking up a couple copies of Dire Tide Frenzy. If you can get this to combo with Saberspine Tiger, or maybe even just anything that your opponent doesn't clear from your board, this might be able to net you similar value to a Makantor Warbeast. Especially lower on the ladder, your opponent might not necessarily be able to clear your entire board. Normally, as you've probably seen, games of Duelyst can get pretty volatile, where full board clear, it's flipping back and forth. And let me see, what else do we need to grab? No, I think that's it. We can actually skip off on Eggmorph, I think, for a little bit. This is going to be the honorable mention that you'd probably want to pick up. But Thumping Wave kind of does its job a little bit, so I think that we can scoot by and get extra value out of our spirit by crafting Thumping Wave instead of Eggmorph. So let's see what we should put in here. We're going to take out the Phalanxar, because even though they're fun as a 6-1, it's a bit too much of a gamble to run those. We could probably take out the Rock Pulverizers to make some room for other things. Let's see here. Maybe we will keep the Rock Pulverizers, but I'll come back around to that. Necroseer is decent for card draw, but because we're making our deck a bit more dangerous and a bit more efficient, we can swap those out for Dancing Blades. Its ability to come down and destroy a unit, deal 3 damage to something, is almost the value of a card anyway, and it's just a really good body. Young Flamewing is pretty interesting for the 4 mana slot, because you can just summon it back away defensively, and then your opponent has to figure out a way to deal with it, or they take 5 damage, or you can just trade it into whatever you'd like. I'm wondering if Repulsor Beast is good to get rid of. I mean, with Adamantite Claws, Saberspine Tiger, and the Diretide Frenzy that we're trying to work with, we might just be able to brute force our way through a lot of stuff and not have to worry about the Repulsor Beast. So I am a bit torn on that front, but I think that we can get away with it. Taking out the Repulsor Beast. Let me see, we still gotta put in the Diretide Frenzy and the Earth Spheres and Thumping Waves. So let's see, for Earth Sphere, let's go ahead and take out maybe Plasma Storm. And will we get rid of the Flame Wings after all? And Thumping Wave. Let's see here. I've got 3, 6. I think we can take out the Veil Hunters. Put in Primus Fist. Just to give us a more solid body for early game. 2 copies of Diretide Frenzy is really good for us. Primordial Gazer I'm kind of iffy about. But since we don't have the Phalanxars in there to make use of its opening gambit. So if you had another 3-drop that you really liked or something that you got out of a pack that you really enjoy using, you could probably take out the Primordial Gazers. Swapping them for Repulsor Beast is probably the correct play, honestly. Because moving something big out of the way is probably better than its ability to allow us to trade into stuff. And it'll allow us to maybe move something out of the way so we can hit the opposing general in the face. So let's hop in and see how this deck feels after the changes that we put in. We didn't have to do too much. Just maybe allowed us to last a bit longer into the late game and just really beefed up our mid-range power. So starting out here, we are going to hold on to the Ephemeral Shroud. Magmar does have a bit of trouble dealing with opponents' range threats and their utility units if we can't outright just kill them. So the Ephemeral Shroud will come in handy on that front. And I'm just considering whether I want to hold on to both Primus Fists, because I'll be opening up with one on the first turn. And we're going to hold the Thumping Wave just because it'll act as a pseudo removal for us. But, you know, I think that this is going to be pretty good, because we can open with Primus Fist. If it stays alive, then we can go Primus Fist, Greater Fortitude, and just do some crazy shenanigans with that. Get a nice chunk of burst damage right off the bat. And even though I did consider this deck sort of mid-range, it is still very aggressive. One of the key threads you're going to see for budget decks is aggressiveness, finishing the game out early. Because early in the game, before you build your collection, you lack removal. A lot of the really good removal in the game is actually very rare cards, right? So the best form of removal is just killing your opponent before they can play something that you can't deal with. And in this particular instance, if I could get my hands on a Diretide Frenzy, that would be kind of nice to clear this out, but I don't think it's too important. Let's see. I would like to move forward, kill a Wraithling, and then allow the Primus Fist to get in and do its big combo like I was talking about. Since he only has a couple Wraithlings to sort of contest a Primus Fist, because after we hit with the Greater Fortitude, it'll just drop right back down to 3 HP, and then the Wraithlings won't be able to trade into it cleanly. The alternate play would just be me moving up, playing the Young Silithar on the mana tile to get another 2-drop, but I think that we can skip out on that. We'll just open the path here. And, do I really want to do that? Sure, why not? We are probably being a bit greedy here. Again, we're putting all of our eggs in one basket, as I like to say. If our opponent has an Ephemeral Shroud of his own, what he can do is just trade in one Wraithling and then dispel the Primus Fist. We also aren't denying this mana tile very well. Ah, there it is. So that is the punish for that play, us getting that chunk of damage in like that. You see, in Jaxi, because it spawns a ranged unit, that's something that Magmar kind of has trouble dealing with. Blood Tier Alchemist is a really good card to actually run in Magmar as well. So if you do have a couple of those, the reason we didn't craft them, it's not on our high priority crafting list, is at this current point in time, Blood Tier Alchemist isn't specifically in the meta. Yeah, so I think what I'm going to do is Ephemeral Shroud the Jaxi, move up, Ephemeral Shroud the Jaxi, then kill it with my General. Have the Primus Fist kill the Ephemeral Shroud, then summon Healing Mystic to heal it, and that'll give us a little bit of extra value. And where do I want to put that? I'll put it here. This, putting the Healing Mystic on this space bottles up our opponent a little bit better. And since we're going up to 5, I would be able to play Young Silithar Thumping Wave on curve, but I think I am just going to replace that just to see if I can get something stronger. If I could play a 4-drop or a 5-drop instead, might be a bit better for us. But right now we just have, since we have a decent board, our hand being filled with utility, moving something out of the way, Dispel, or Transformation / buff is just really good versatility for us. And we'll see how my opponent deals with this. Abyssian relies on getting control of the board, right, and then snowballing that, spiraling out of control. So you kind of, in this matchup, want to keep on the aggressive side. You want to make sure you're shutting down all of their options for summoning, and if you can make it so they're only able to summon near their general, you might be able to get a lot of those units dealt with before they become a massive issue. Because if they get a Blood Moon Priestess set up on you, and then the Wraithlings start spawning infinitely, and then if they drop a Shadow Dancer down beside that, it just becomes really impossible to get through all of the 1/1s and the body blocking to get at their general and close out the game. It's happened to me countless times. So pretty interesting thing here. I kind of want to save my other Dispel. So I think I might Repulsor Beast this thing. Ooh, Dire Tide. Dang. Because what I could do is Dispel this, then Dire Tide Frenzy, and use the Ephemeral Shroud to hit it, and then that does a 3 damage AoE. That's like not really worth it. And if I Repulsor Beast, right, to move the Jaxi down to the corner, Abyssian has a lot of defensive utility units that they like to summon away from the fight, and that's really counterintuitive to our current strategy. So I think, even though I do feel kind of bad about using that second Ephemeral Shroud, we're just going to go ahead and do that play. What's nice about this is the Ephemeral Shroud becomes a 3/2 with Frenzy. We get that AoE damage, and it survives as a 3/1. So our opponent is going to have to find a way to deal with it, and so we get extra value that way. Primus Shieldmaster, perfect. We were sort of waiting for some of our larger drops to come through for us. Pardon me. But this deck has a lot of ways to just sort of keep the board neutral and then just have our general do a lot of work. That's what makes Voth a very interesting pick, is that he's sort of self-sufficient that way, where you can just use Adamantite Claws and your Bloodborne spell to just bulldoze your way through the opponent, keep yourself topped off with Earth Spheres. If you happen to unbox a Bounded Life Force, which is a spell that costs 7 mana, transforms your general into a 10/10. That way you can get some nice burst damage in and finish off your opponent, and really plays into this current deck style that we're playing. Again, I wouldn't recommend prioritizing crafting that over Makantor Warbeast, but if you do happen to unbox one of those, unpack one of those, then just go ahead and slip that in the deck. Yeah, we'll just drop the Primus Shieldmaster. We'll also have the Ephemeral Shroud clean up this Wraithling for us. And then just keep on keeping on. Natural Selection is pretty interesting for this deck. It was a better fit when we had the Phalanxar, right? Because if I summon a 6/1 and you can't deal with it and you just put something down. Ooh, Spectral Revenant. Very nice. So this is sort of where the Ephemeral Shroud, the Repulsor Beast comes through. We can just move this guy over to the corner where he's not going to be able to do much for us. Another option here, actually, is I can save the Repulsor Beast and just make this trade. And then the Natural Selection comes through for us. The Spectral Revenant, I want to show this off. When it hits something, it deals 4 damage to your general, so you want to make sure you get that cleaned up as quickly as possible. I'm going to replace the Repulsor Beast here. I was hoping for an Earth Sphere. That would really just give us that nice HP lead to seal the deal here. If he has a second Spectral Revenant, he can actually just summon it, hit me for 6 damage, and then slap me with his general. Healing Mystic, not bad. See, there's the Blood Moon Priestess. So this is trouble. This is what I was talking about earlier, where Abyssian summons the Blood Moon Priestess, you can't deal with it, and then bad things happen. Let's replace the Greater Fortitude. What do we get? Dancing Blades! Hallelujah! Okay, so we're going to play the Dancing Blades here, and move up, and let's see. I want to play the Young Silithar here so it can body block for us as much as possible. And I think that I am not going to attack here. If I attack, it'll put me at 5 HP, and that's really too close to comfort for my taste. Because if he has any way to buff this Wraithling here, then that would just be game over. And I also, again, lose to a second Spectral Revenant. So unfortunately, we drew a lot of utility. We were able to deal with his threats, but we didn't draw a lot of our power cards like Adamantite Claws to give us the burst damage we needed to close this game out. If we would replace into an Adamantite Claws or a Thumping Wave, now I sort of need that Thumping Wave. Let's see, so that's 3, 4, 5. Damn, he got me. Ah, that stinks. That's pretty good. Yeah, but that just variance. If we look back on the replay, there's probably a couple cards that I replaced. Maybe I could have held on to them, but not too shabby. Sometimes you just don't draw your power cards. You put them in, you don't get them, don't worry about it. Having 2 Saberspine Tigers is kind of nice utility, but I think I want to replace one, just so we can get a bit more versatility in our hand. Ah, there's the Adamantite Claws. And we also didn't draw those Earth Spheres. Maybe we could do something about making room for a 3rd copy, because honestly, if we had played an Earth Sphere at any point during the game, we probably would have been able to heal ourselves out of lethal range quite easily. And this is a really strong Abyssian opening when you're going 2nd. The Wraithling Swarm allows you to summon 3 Wraithlings and take these 2 mana tiles. And then, normally you're able to chain a 2-drop on top of that. But, unfortunately, that is not the case. Let's go ahead and replace the Repulsor Beast. Tire Tie Frenzy! Yes, sirree, Bob. Okay, so... oh, man. I really want to move forward and then hit this Wraithling so that the young Silithar can get the AoE that hits the general too. But honestly, I think that getting an extra body developed is going to be slightly better for us, because we get to clear out these Wraithlings. And then we've got another body on board. I'm sort of valuing the Healing Mystic over the Primus Fist, because if you can get a body to stick on the board, we get another target for our buffs, and if something survives an additional round, then it's almost like you buffed it, because, you know, it just gets to do its damage another time. And I'm going to use the Saber-Spine Tiger. See, so the young Silithar gets the value we were talking about, where our opponent couldn't properly deal with the egg, so it rehatches as a fresh unit. It does lose the Dire Tide Frenzy buff, which is really unfortunate. But let's go ahead and nip this in the bud. Get that Shadow Watcher knocked out of there. And you know, I think I'm actually going to not attack with the Primus Fist here and just keep him bottled up. Because the young Silithar will become an egg, it's like it has a bit more effective HP. Yep, so here come the Wraithlings. Interesting. The other good thing about Voth's Bloodborne spell is that because I can essentially permanently put my general at 3 HP as opposed to 2 HP, whenever your opponent wants to trade hit for hit, you will come out ahead. Ooh, Void Steel. That's really interesting too. What this will do is make the Primus Fist into a 0-3, not going to be able to do anything with him anymore. And then these Wraithlings become a bit more problematic as 4-1s. So let me see, how do I want to handle this? Can I dispel the Void Sapping effect? Oh, hallelujah! Okay, so the Void Sap can be dispelled. That's really good to know. And cool. Alrighty. Yeah, so we are again just slowly whittling our opponent down. This Wraithling here that spawned can just take out the egg, but we were able to clean up that 8 HP worth of damage pretty nicely, where we didn't have to take that on our general. Quite frankly, we could have, because we have the Earth Sphere, but oh, mercy. Okay, so here comes the Blood Moon Priestess. And that's going to spell some trouble for us. I'm going to replace here, see if I can get possibly... Saber-Spine Tiger would be really nice. Let's see. 4, 5, 6... Oh, never mind. We have lethal. You gotta be careful. Sometimes you get too caught up in, you know, thinking ahead that you lose sight of what's on the board right now and what's in your hand right now. So we get our burst damage there to finish off our opponent. Thumping Wave would have been there too if we didn't have Adamantite Claws in hand. Probably would have replaced the Earth Sphere there, searching for, again, Saber-Spine Tiger to put up into that little section to take out the Blood Moon Priestess before too many Wraithlings spawned. Oh, we unlocked Starhorn. Now, we're going to be playing Voth over Starhorn, of course, because the alternate generals in the game, outside of maybe Riva, well, I prefer Kalios, especially at lower levels. Both are pretty good, because being able to blink things and get those backstabs in lets you get some pretty crazy damage, right? Your units are a lot less likely to be answered, so Kalios actually does a lot of work. But Riva being able to spawn Heartseekers is just as powerful. But in regards to Starhorn, because its effect technically helps your opponent and draws them a card, you need to be running a very specialized kind of deck that allows you to nullify the advantage that your opponent is getting by gaining a card. You have to be so oppressive that those cards that you give them don't matter. Voth has just such an all-round good Bloodborne spell that unless you're running something specialized that Starhorn drawing you cards would be a lot better for, Voth is going to come out on top for that. Same thing between Zeron and Argyon Highmane for Lionar. Argyon being able to give a minion +2 attack is just going to be so much more like fundamentally useful. Ooh, now this is really interesting here. He summoned the Chakri Avatar and the Veil Hunter, which are normally more defensive units. You want to play them back away from the fight, and then they can do damage. The Veil Hunter will be able to hit from range. The Chakri Avatar will be able to get buffed up. My original plan was to move the Young Silithar down and then ramp into the Primus Shieldmaster, but because you hit me with this opportunity, I think that we will just clean these guys up before it becomes a real issue. Hit the Veil Hunter, kill the Chakri Avatar, and then we get to deny the mana and keep the Young Silithar healthy. So that is an enormous tempo swing for us, actually. We just were able to deal with our opponents opening 2 cards for by taking minimal damage as well. The Healing Mystic allows us to top off the Young Silithar, and I only took 1 damage on my general, so this is really huge for us. Playing that Songhai Gauntlet run sort of shook us up to the point where I didn't get to the Songhai like key crafting episode, but I am going to get these knocked out pretty quickly. And this will be our 3rd match. I can see here the recording is going a little bit on 30 minutes, so this, depending on what our opponent does, could end up being a slightly longer episode. I'm not going to complete the quest during this episode, but because we have the Magmar quest in our log, we can go ahead and show off these crafting options while also working towards that. And then I can just play 1 more game off screen, get some more gold, get some more packs, and then go from there. The contents of the packs, I suppose, don't truly matter, just as long as I get enough spirit to craft the essentials. So there's the Kaido Assassin. Inner Focus? Oh no. Are you just going to play it? Mist Dragon Seal? Okay, okay. I appreciate that he took the time to think of this combo, but it looks like he ran out of time. He did deny that mana to me as well, and I do want to take care of this thing, because when you backstab something, the unit that you backstab doesn't do, not hit back damage, it doesn't retaliate. So it allows you to clear things, and then, you know, those... I'm trying to think about how I want to do this. I can Primus Fist the Young Silithar, right? And then what that would allow us to do is just one-shot the Kaido Assassin and then leave an egg behind. I think that that is our best bet here. Then we can move the Healing Mystic onto the mana tile to get that for us. So we can overload, slap the Songhai General, and then keep ourselves topped off. Next turn, we have the Primus Shieldmaster and the Dancing Blades to follow up with, while we already have a pretty dominant board. So, looks like we should be able to do some quick work here. Had our opponent played a Veil Hunter or the Chakri Avatar or something back here, right? Because when you start, you're right up against the wall. You play the Veil Hunter or the Chakri Avatar and then move forward. That way your unit is left in a more defensive position. You aren't able to take that center mana, which is probably what he was really worried about. But when you're going first, you have access to the bottom or top mana spring on your next turn going first regardless. So whether or not you take that mana going first like that is sort of negligible. Let's see. So I've got 3 damage with my general. Then 3 with the Primus, with the Saberspine Tiger. It might be best to make this trade now, because the Primus Shieldmaster, because that's 3 attack, can just eat all of my 2-drops. So we'll go ahead and make this trade. And then just keep the pressure on. It doesn't matter too much if these 2-drops get cleaned up when they're hitting the general. I'd rather they trade into the general than trade into a Primus Shieldmaster. The Primus Shieldmaster, with a 6 provoke like that, 6 HP provoke, really good stat line for dealing with early 2-drops. It's almost like it heals for 6, right? That's 6 damage that your general is not going to need to take. And since I have such strong options coming out in my hand, this is what we wanted to see during that first Abyssian game. We got all of like the Repulsor Beast and Ephemeral Shroud, like we drew all of our answers, and so we couldn't develop true threats on the board, which is a balance that you need to hit as well. I think that based on what we saw from that match, we might be able to get away with cutting the natural selections, maybe putting in a 3rd Earth Sphere, and then maybe a larger drop, like another 5-drop or something. Maybe put in a Young Flamewing, or if you happen to unpack something that's really strong, like a Pandora or an Archon Spellbinder that has a really good stat line that'll help you close out a game. 6 mana. Now, here's the thing. We're going to be in reach of him, no matter what. We aren't looking to lock down any units because his board is clear, so I'm actually going to play the Hailstone Golem instead of the Primus Shieldmaster here. And we're going to leave the Healing Mystic alive so that it kind of keeps him bottled up like we were talking about before. Sometimes leaving a unit up on the board just to choke out your opponent's available movement options benefits you more in the long run, because we might force him to step back towards the wall. He might need to step around like this and then kill the Healing Mystic, and then that puts him closer to this corner and we can sort of tighten up on him. Repulsor Beast, okay. And since the Hailstone Golem got moved with the Repulsor Beast, we still have the Primus Shieldmaster to play instead, and our opponent is really losing out on the cards in his hand. Songhai is really tricky. I know that at higher levels, they're pretty infamous, right, for doing crazy combos and then still having a pretty decent amount of cards in their hands. But that's because they have access to cards like Mana Vortex, Heaven's Eclipse, Spelljammer, really rare cards that only function once you have a well-oiled, synergistic Songhai deck going. So I'm hoping that once I get to the Songhai episode, I'll be able to show you guys something that falls into a more board-based style. Let me see here. What do we got? What do we got? We can just play the Dancing Blades to kill this Repulsor Beast. And then hit him, I guess. And then meanwhile, the Hailstone Golem will take, like, the game will probably be over before this Hailstone Golem comes back into the fold. And I'm actually being pretty stubborn about holding on to this Earth Sphere. If I was, like, really looking to close out the game, I should be aggressive. I should probably discard the Earth Sphere since I'm pretty much near full HP right now. And looking at our opponent's hand, he's not going to be able to burst me, right? So I think that the Earth Sphere is probably the weakest link in our hand. And, ooh, actually what we can do here is, well, no. Thumping Waves transformation kicks in at the end of the turn. So, ooh, Greater Fortitude. Okay, so Greater Fortitude would allow the Dancing Blades to one-shot the Primus Shield Master. Sure, why not? It's one of the few instances where Egg Morph is going to be better than Thumping Wave, where you want to move something out of the way. But we do still have Repulsor Beasts in this deck. Misplay on my part, I didn't overload before I hit. At this point in the game, that damage isn't going to matter, that 1 point of damage, because it leaves him at 2 HP, but you know, you want to make sure you're getting in that 1 point of damage. It's actually happened to me before where I hit my opponent and before I Bloodborne spelled, I misplayed, right? And then that 1 damage ended up biting me in the ass. They killed me after they were left at 1 HP. It was like, it happens where that 1 misplay, that one or 2 points of damage that you missed early on just comes back to bite you. Yeah, so being at 15 HP, if he had more cards in his hand, I would actually be pretty worried, because that's when Songhai is just able to burst you down. And we're not going to BM here, because, you know, I could Earth Sphere and Thumping Wave and hit him with a big burst, but we're just going to finish the match. No need to do anything crazy to our opponents. Okay, so thank you for checking out this Magmar episode. I hope that these really... Oh, got a legendary card. Achievement. Okay, I think that's like when you complete enough daily quests, you get a free... Oops, 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 oops. What the heck? Cancel. So that's an error. It's not letting me cancel. But anyway, I'm going to cut the video here. I accidentally re-queued, so you guys don't get to see this match. This video is already almost 40 minutes. So thank you for stopping by. Let me know if there's any different options that you would suggest for this budget Magmar list. And let me know if you feel that Makantor Warbeast is 100% auto-include. It is eventually, but only right now when you're first starting out if you want to focus on Magmar as a faction. Let me know your thoughts and opinions in the comments, and I will see you next time. Have a good one.